Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Saturday, September 5th, and I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by the one and only Mr. Andrew Hansen. How are you tonight or this morning or whatever we always try to figure out, when it is? Who knows?
I'm happy. The NBA FanDuel hybrid line cashed for us again, so that put you over 80% with the NBA lineups, and I'm feeling the good vibes with Houston. I mean, that's really where it's all about. What a contrast in these games tonight, where Houston, in 48 hours they survived Game 7, then they thumped the Lakers, and you look at the other side with Milwaukee going down 3-0. So it's kind of a surprising night the way things turned out. I liked Houston to potentially win tonight. I didn't think they'd blow them out, but man, what a statement they made.
I'm stunned, I have to say. I mean, we discussed and broke these games down and came up with some good players, but we did not game script Houston coming in and waxing the Lakers after the Lakers being fresh and Houston having that, dogged series. So it was amazing, but from the coach talk side, yeah, I'm thrilled too, man. I mean, it's nights like tonight where it's just sometimes you just got to grind out those hard victories. Just like when you're coaching or playing. They're not all going to be walks in the park or sweats for the big hits, but we just ground down and got some big points from AD down the stretch. Eric Gordon really stepped up. And we just got by. It wasn't a beautiful wins, and we snuck in there, but we'll take it, man. It was definitely a smash night for us in cash games, 50-50s and heads-up contests. And then, like I say, we even squealed in there barely, but we're in there in the GPP. So it was great. We had a bunch of new members come in today and got a chance to chat in the Discord with some of them. So huge welcome to that whole group. We'll do that at one of these shows here, read off some of the new members that we have. We should do that weekly. I'm going to make a note, maybe every Sunday show or something, we'll review, who came in that previous week. But really great to have the group. I mean, it's, what I love about it, Andrew, is all the, discussion in Discord and talk, like, what do you think about this guy? And what about this? And somebody brings up, a great point and it's debated in there. And it just helps everybody make some final decisions to lock down their roster,
Yeah, I mean, it turns into like a 24-hour process for us, or maybe, 16 to 18 hours, depending on when the lock is. Because here we are, basically at midnight the night before. We've already strategized about our lineups. You and I are going to talk it out in the podcast. We'll listen to the podcast again tomorrow and then build our lineups throughout the day, listening to the news. And then, like you said, in Discord, we're back and forth with the members. And so it's just a great community. And, the process is working. The stats show it, the results show it. And that's why we just got to keep on the same path and keep the positive momentum.
80.35%. Let's go.
Love it. Let's go.
Let's go. So yeah, absolutely. It's been a ton of fun, and it's just going to get more and more wild here next week as football jumps in. So then we're really going to be, with baseball, basketball, football, and golf, it's going to be fantastic. And hopefully we're taking stuff down everywhere. Interesting news today, though. I've mentioned on here before, and we've spent time in Discord providing lineups for fantasy draft, and we've done really well at it. But guess what? There is no more fantasy draft. As of today, the announcement was they were purchased by Monkey Knife Fight, and their whole scenario's a lot different than fantasy draft was. So that's it for fantasy draft. We have to wave goodbye to them. I'm thinking of us. I like having that third one that's real different than DraftKings and FanDuel, just for me to bounce. It helps me think through pricing a little better. So it looks like, and I'm announcing this on here, I didn't tell you yet, but I'm probably going to add Yahoo back in, because there are a decent amount of people that play it. And it is a third entity that has totally different pricing. Like their prices of people are $10 and $17, and so it's just on a different format. And again, it's not about having additional action. For me, it's about evaluating every aspect of how the salaries are on each site and how it affects the rest of the players that you roster. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's so, look for that this week of possibly incorporating a Yahoo lineup in there as a third lineup, since fantasy draft has gone to the great heavens above. So wanted to mention that real quickly. Also, before we jump into these two games, I want to thank our two presenting sponsors. And it's mybookie.ag and tvg.com. You can go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, and you'll see a link to both of them. tvg.com, which the Kentucky Derby's tomorrow. So you want to jump on that. And mybookie.ag, which has all the sports wagering you can imagine, and casino, whatever you want to mess around with. And you get all the way up to $1,000 match on mybookie.ag if you use the promo code CoachTalk, all one word, no space. And on TVG, you get a $300 risk-free bet exclusive to DFS Coach Talk, again, by using that promo DFS Coach Talk, no space, one word. All right, we're diving into this, and we're going to look at the nice part about this, Andrew, is we've got these two games tomorrow, and there are no injuries reported as of right now. So everybody's going to roll it out and play. First game, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It is the Toronto Raptors and the Boston Celtics after that absolutely incredible finish from the last game. This one looks, smells, and sounds like a playoff, just bully fest here. It's the Raptors -1, and the over-under's all the way down at 214. Do you think those are some accurate numbers for this one?
I think that's a fair place for the folks in Vegas to start, because I do think this is going to be, whatever word you want to call it, a battle, a war, grind it out. I mean, there's a lot on the line here. Toronto just barely surviving on that last one to not get down in that almost insurmountable 3-0 hole. Yeah. And so they're feeling good and thinking, all right, well, we still have a chance. Boston's so frustrated that they didn't finish that one off after that amazing pass from Kemba. It looked like they had it. So, there's a lot going on with them. So basically, 2-1, both teams are going to be extremely motivated. And, the projection we made for the last game, the last time these guys played, was accurate. We talked about how Toronto was going to just go balls to the wall in terms of the minutes for their guys, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
Lowry played 46 minutes and 29 seconds.
Wow.
Van Vliet played 40 minutes. OG played 45 minutes and 28 seconds.
Amazing.
And the Boston guys weren't too far behind. Kemba, 39 minutes. Jaylen Brown, 40 minutes. Marcus Smart, 37. So I really don't see any reason to think that it's going to be different than that. Maybe it'll fluctuate a couple minutes here or there, but I think both teams are just going to go all in to try to win it again. So I'm going to stack this game for my primary build. I'm going to get most of my exposure here. And, those guys that I mentioned are all in consideration. They're decent prices still. Hasn't really changed much on DraftKings, but Lowry did go up a bunch on FanDuel. He's up to 9,000. So it's a little bit tougher to pay that amount.
That's ridiculous how much he went up. No doubt. He's only 7,800 on DraftKings.
Right.
So $1,200 spread there. That's crazy.
That's some strategy, because then at 9,000, he's almost as expensive as Tatum, who, in the last game was sort of in his own category in this game on both sites. Yeah. But, now Lowry's right next to him on FanDuel. So, A little bit tougher on FanDuel, but the stack works pretty well on DraftKings. And then I do want to mention that the centers for Boston as well. Tyson and Robert Williams can both hit value at their prices, which didn't move much.
Right.
And, I think people are going to get excited about Robert Williams at 3.8, and I do think he's playable. But the thing about Tice is he did get 30 minutes last time, so it's not like it's an even split.
No.
And so I think it could be a nice bounce back candidate. And, maybe Robert Williams doesn't get quite so much efficiency per minute. He's been great in terms of fantasy production per minute, but maybe this is more of a Tice game. So I wanted to make that point as well.
No, I think it's a good point. Are your builds and stacks, are you looking to make it even on both sides, or are you favoring the Toronto side? Because I know last time we both, really stacked the Toronto side as the big play.
I think I'll still lean Toronto. If it's five guys, then probably 3 from Toronto. But it could be balanced. It could be 3 and 3. So just kind of still playing with it on both sites.
Interesting. It's I love this game too, and I think I'm going to have more of an even build for my initial work on this. I'm not done with it yet, and so it's a work in progress. But I'm going to try, just based on who I've penciled in so far, to make it like a 4-4 split, or maybe 5-4 from this game, 4 from the other game, 5-4. So, I think you're going to get a little bit more competitive game in that Denver Clippers game this go around, because they're going to push the pedal to the metal. But again, to me, I always look at the coaches. I think that's a huge deal, and I don't think it can be undervalued. People don't really take that into consideration. But you look at tonight, and I mentioned it in our Discord. Vogel's never been what I thought was a really good coach. I mean, he's been sufficient, but if you remember the Pacers runs when they got knocked out in the East, they couldn't even make a finals with him. I don't even think they got to the finals with him, and they got knocked out. And that's when they were absolutely loaded for bear, when Paul George, really broke out, and they were just stacked from, top to bottom. And, just his game planning and decision making, strategic wise, he doesn't make his adjustments as quickly. And you look at the other 3 coaches, you've got Stevens and Nurse and then Doc. So, you're talking about guys, 3 of the top, like we said the other day, 5 or 6 guys. And, some of the other guys are in it on the other side. So if you don't think coaching is a big thing in the NBA, then you are underestimating how valuable that is. And it really has a lot to do with game planning. I mean, if you want to take a coaching clinic, watch how Spoelstra has coached these 3 games against Milwaukee. He has used different schemes, different sets, rotations. It's just been a thing of beauty to see how frustrated he's got Milwaukee. And, I want to bring that up real quick. And I know, we don't want to make these go too long because everybody's trying to squeeze them in. But I got to ask you this, because the biggest takeaway I had from today's games, other than being shocked about Houston killing them, was Milwaukee and Giannis. Now, I know he was wincing and he looked like he was hurt or whatever. I'll tell you, though, man, he is a heart on the sleeve kind of player. I don't think he's going to stay in Milwaukee. I'm just going to throw it out there in our discussion right now. My sense is this guy is going to not stay there. What do you think?
It's an interesting question. I mean, we'll see how this series finishes off, assuming they lose. What's it going to be like when he sits down and thinks about it? I mean, he's got to look in the mirror, right? It can't be that he says, well, I just don't have enough talent around me. He's got to look in the mirror and say, what was he, 0 for 7 on 3-pointers?
Oh, I mean, and his foul shooting, and, there's those aspects.
He's the only star in the league where he gets fouled, and especially if you're, tracking somebody for fantasy points, you think, all right, well, I got at least 1 point here, probably 2.
Yeah.
Harden, you're guaranteed 2, basically. But with him, you're like, I just hope I get 1 free throw. And you can't win a championship when your best player's like that. And again, to have that major weakness of not being able to hit threes, that's why I think he's got to look in the mirror and decide, is it them? Is it me? I don't think he can honestly say it's them. I need to go somewhere else. So that's what I'm just not sure how it's going to play out.
Sometimes just, in a situation like that where you disappointed again, a new venue is just a fresh start for somebody. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I just, the body language I saw, the rumors you start hearing, there's usually, a lot of it's noise, but there's always a little depth to some of those when you start hearing them from multiple people. So I just want to throw it out there because I know I took a lot of noise on Twitter when I wasn't talking negative about him, but I was on the show with you and I just said, hey, he's a back-to-back MVP, by far the highest priced guy on every slate, and he can't make a foul shot or a three-point shot. And, since when do you ever think that about an MVP? You just give him the ball and clear the floor. And yes, I'll tell you right now, he's the greatest physical specimen that's ever played the game of basketball, bar none. I mean, I don't think anybody could ever size up to his physical, incredible ability. I mean, he can go 94 feet in 3 dribbles and lay it in the basket. No, I don't think anybody else can do that or ever has been able to do that. Now, I will say, though, that I don't know. I didn't see what I look to see in situations where a guy's struggling like that or he's frustrated. I didn't see Middleton or Bledsoe or anybody coming to his aid, like pumping him up or talking to him. It seemed very disjointed to me. And I think Milwaukee, no one's ever come back from 3-0 in the history of the NBA. So, it's over. And so that's, I just want to bring it up because I think it's going to be the biggest news in the offseason because there's some big players, including the Mavericks. They've been talking that like crazy. So, I'm hoping upon hope that, can you imagine Luka Porzingis and Giannis?
No, I cannot.
Oh my good God.
That might be a little bit unfair.
They'll have to get the paddles out and bring me back because I think I'd fall over dead right as soon as I got that news. But anyway, okay, so back to where we were. Just wanted to throw that out there. Let Boston and Toronto. Now, Jason Tatum has proven to me over this run of he's just an elite superstar in this league. He really is. I think he's by far the best player in this series on either side of the ball. I don't even think it's close. He's 9,300 on DraftKings. He's expensive on FanDuel as well. I want to start my lineup with Tatum. I just think he's too good. Boston is going to be in the mindset here, in my mind, is they're going to be just fuming that they lost this game. They're going to be thinking, if we don't win this game, it's 2-2, it's an even series, and we were 4/10 of a crazy shot away from just basically closing it out. So I think they come out with incredible intensity. I think Tatum plays as many minutes as needed, and I want to start my build there. As far as the fade guys, the other expensive guys from this game, Kemba, I think he's playing terrific. He's just too expensive for me. He doesn't get quite enough of the other ancillary things. He's got to score 30-some points and get, 16 assists to smash value because he's not going to really get rebounds or blocks or any of those other pieces, and he's not a huge steal guy. So I'm going to fade him. Siakam has not played one game where I'd say that guy is good. So I don't know if he's feeling the shadow now, finally, of Kawhi Leonard, which, he never showed any of that throughout the season. He was playing great ball. But now that the onus is on him, and he pretty much gets the blame if they lose because, Van Vliet and Lowry are veterans and they're playing well, he's the one that's underperforming. So I'm not going to go there until I see him turn the corner. I'm not, some of the things I've done, I've played the same guys multiple games in a row, like the Gordons today, but they do me right. I love Lowry and Van Vliet again. Why not? I mean, I know Marcus Smart's a really good defender, but those two guys, it doesn't matter. The way that Nurse rotates them, they both get a ton of minutes. Van Vliet gets about a 12-minute run throughout the game, or 10, depending if Lowry's, what he plays, where he's the man with Lowry out. And it always gives him that turbo boost in DFS points. So I'm going back to the well with both of those guys. So for me in this game, like I say, I'm going to try to even my split. I'm looking at Tatum, Lowry, Van Vliet, and then I'm still determining my super value play from this game, which will definitely be released to our Discord so that everybody gets to jump on that. So does that make sense?
Yeah, the thing I like about it is, again, comparing prices. If you do fade Kemba, like on DraftKings, it's only $1,300 more to get to Tatum. And then, that type of build will allow you to get more of the mid-tier guys from the second game, which I think could make some sense. So I'm curious to work on that build a little bit and see what comes out of it.
I will tell you this for the first time, and I've been on Tice a ton. I played him a bunch. I now am in that, my biggest pet peeve, when I feel two guys are splitting minutes at a position and really going to share it. I think Williams, although he's playing a lot less, not a lot, but a decent amount less than Tice, I think he's going to chew into that enough that, now that Tice is up to in the mid fives, it's not as palatable. And, it's hard if you can stay away from the builds. Like tonight, we survived Contavious Caldwell poop, not toe poop, and he was horrible. It's so hard to roster that bottom guy and just painfully try to get him, somehow, some way to 15, 20 fantasy points. So, that could happen with Robert Williams, like you said. I mean, his efficiency's been off the charts. Can he, keep that up? Probably not. I mean, just statistically wise, there's got to be some regression in, his efficiency. So that's why I'm sort of looking away from those two guys. But I do have a sneaker in here that I'll share later that I think you're going to be surprised at too. All right,
Excellent.
let's go on to game two. Before we do that, though, real quickly here, and we won't take long with it, we got to throw this out there because we've had such a fantastic response from folks listening or watching this on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up. It takes just a second or two. This is in front of the paywall. It's so important that you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that little alarm reminder button that lets you know when our podcasts are posted. If you do that, it really shifts our algorithm in YouTube and gets us way up in the search engine. So we really do appreciate that. And then also from the DFS Coach Talk side, we just launched, 4 days ago, I guess now, our fall special that runs all of September, October, November, and December. And do you want to just touch on that real quickly because you're better at it than me?
Yeah, we've had folks taking advantage of it here recently, and the reason is because you get all 4 sports with us for the same price. So it's $199 for the rest of the calendar year. So you get a discount on the monthly price, and you lock in the core football season. And that's the big turning point here. We've been cranking out 7-day-a-week NBA lineups, and we're going to keep doing that with the cash lineup and the GPP lineup on FanDuel, the coach's clipboard on DraftKings. We've been doing baseball every day. We've been crushing it there. Golf once a week. That all is going to continue, but now we're going to add every NFL slate. Shane and I are going to run that side of the business, and so we've got every showdown slate for the Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, and the main slate on Sunday. And you get it all for the same price. It's all access to every sport, all the content. So now is a terrific time to jump in and just join the family for the rest of the year.
Summer is here, and sports are finally back, which can only mean one thing. It's time to get back, relax, and make some cash. Everyone has to start somewhere, which is why you want to get off on the right foot by choosing an established book like MyBookie.ag. With all the major sports seasons just around the corner, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Dynamic betting lines and a simple-to-use platform make the process easier than it's ever been. Create your account in just a few easy steps. Deposit and begin placing your bets. Sign up now using promo code COACHTALK to get your deposit matched 100% all the way up to $1,000. Plus an extra $25 free play. That's promo code COACHTALK. Use it to score yourself an extra piece of the pie. With MyBookie, you bet, you win, and most importantly, when you win, you get paid.
Absolutely, and we have a great community in there. And the other thing that came up today too that's really true is, we're a plug and play for whatever you do. If you're a $1 GPP player, or if you're a 270 head-to-head, cash player, this is the right spot for you. I play mostly cash and single entry, more so than GPPs. And Shane and Andrew are more on the GPP side, but the lineups we put out, the hybrid lineups that we produce in FanDuel, and then the coach's clipboard that we build, allows you to pivot or use somebody from the pool that we're sharing, and steer towards whatever type of contest that you want to play. But I'll tell you, in all honesty, if you follow our hybrid lineups and play them, we have had an incredible winning, streak here. So, and again, it's in, the $1, the $5, or the $150. So, join us there and check that out, because I think you're going to find it adaptable to whatever type of contest you like to play. So, all right, no further ado. 9 p.m. Denver Nuggets, LA Clippers. We got a big spread here. Big fat 9-point favorite for the Clippers. It may shift to double digits and get to 10 in my prediction here by the time the odds are done tomorrow. And the over-under is 221.5, so it is 7.5 higher than the other game. So I think you do need some exposure here. I know you're stacking the other game, so whoever you cherry pick from this game, it's going to be super important. So who are your initial thoughts going towards on this game for a good play?
Yeah, it's all, for me, it is zeroing in on the value guys. I'm not looking at any of the studs. The Clippers have shut down Murray all season long. Jokic, he had a dud. It was just amazing how it actually turned out. I mean, we talked about there possibly being a blowout, but who would have guessed that Jokic played 30 minutes, Plumlee played 14 minutes, and they had the exact same fantasy output on DraftKings, 22.75. So
amazing.
I mean,
and that was the reason we took some stuff down, because we went with the Plumlee cheap play on some of the stuff. So
right, yeah. So Murray and Jokic. I mean, everybody was tired from that crazy 7-game series with Utah, and then you add in the fact that Clippers have all these fresh defenders to run at them who are excellent defenders. Murray just hasn't done it all year. Jokic realized, not long into the game, probably by halftime, early third quarter, that they didn't have a chance to win. So he didn't go all out.
No, he sort of quit. I was really surprised. Yeah, or unless his legs were that dead.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, they kept it close for the first quarter. And then again, by third quarter, it was clear that they were not going to win and they weren't going to keep it close. So, save some energy for game 2. But I just don't see them really making much headway here in game 2.
Blowout again?
Yeah, Clippers are still rested. They're just so strong defensively. And so they've got multiple guys to run at Murray and Jokic in the 2-man game. And the other peripheral parts for Denver, they're just not, they're not clicking. I mean, Millsap had the best game out of the group, but that was because he had steals and blocks. Yeah. And so I'm not ready to go back there. Plumlee, he's a nice one-off here because, as we've talked about, they need him to guard Harrell when Harrell's out there. and so he'll get his minutes again. He could pay off value. Grant and Craig are two guys I'll consider. Again, just as a one-off to fill out the salary, and because you have to have somebody from this game. On the Clippers side, Kawhi a little bit too expensive for me because, again, I don't think he's going to need 40 minutes. Paul George, borderline. I'd rather pay for an $8,000 guy in the first game than this one. Pat Beverly is one of the value plays I would look at 3.6 on DraftKings, not on FanDuel where he's 5,000. But,
right.
He had a nice first game. He only played 12 minutes. They didn't need him more than that. But if he's at more like 16 or 18 minutes, he can pay that off on DraftKings. And then Harrell is in play for me again. He was efficient last game, and once again, much cheaper on DraftKings at 4.3. So I like him a little bit more over there.
Yeah. No, good take. Absolutely. A couple of things, I agree with you. I think the Clippers are going to, sweep this series, to be honest with you. They're just much the superior team. But, I think, we have our mascot.
Is that Chance?
That is Chance, the mascot of DFS Coach Talk.
I think.
Chance, what's the deal here, buddy?
Chance likes the call of a sweep.
Wait, now we're live on the air here. My son Dawson just came in. And so this is the ultimate pressure. Dawson, would you like to do the Coach Talk show with me tomorrow so I don't have to do it solo? He says no. Even under the pressure of live podcasting.
Hey, it's a holiday weekend.
Oh, he's going to he's going to the aquarium with his girl. Okay, so you guys get Coach solo tomorrow, but it was worth a shot under the pressure. He did turn a little red, so that was cool. Okay, so in this game, I think you're going to see a lot of improvement from the Joker. I think he'll have a much better game. I'm not going to go there because I don't want the bottom of the barrel dudes. I can't take scratching through these guys that are just bottom of the barrel. I would rather mid-level build the rest of this group. Now, today's slate that we had to deal with Giannis and LeBron and AD and all the big names, Westbrook and everybody, you really can't do that and catch up. But in this one, you can with this build. I don't think you have to go to Kawhi here, especially if they're in control of the game. I don't know if he'll get the full minutes extension that he needs, and he is the most expensive guy on the slate. So I agree with you. There's no way I'm playing Murray as much as I love him, but with Pat Bevan, the fresh bodies just irritating the life out of him, I don't think this is going to be a good series for him. He's going to get harassed the whole time, and very well should. I mean, more coaches need to take these stands against guys and make somebody else beat you. I know it sounds like a broken record, but I've said it over and over multiple times, and it's so frustrating, when, what coach is going to let a guy drop 50 on you 2 out of 3 games? I mean, I don't care what you have to do. Double them, run a double, a trap, whatever the case may be. But you're going to see that with Doc, I think, in this situation, because it's not just going to be Beverly or whoever's guarding him. They're going to be able to bring, another body and make him kick. And somebody else is going to have to hit shots, whether it's Grant or Porter off the bench or Millsap. Somebody is going to have a big game if Denver's going to stick with the Clippers. And I don't believe it's going to be Murray. So I'm going to go down even below George. I've got a pool of guys here, Andrew. So tell me what you think of this group. Your opinion matters to me. These are the 4 or 5 guys that I'm looking at. I only need like 3 of them to fill it out for me. But I'm looking at going back to the well with Lou Williams. He had an off game last time. What do you think of Lou?
Well, he was fine, but he only played 24 minutes. And that's the problem. The Clippers just have too many guys who are solid. They're in the rotation. They get minutes, especially if it's going to be a double-digit victory. I love Lou Williams. I played him a ton during the season, but it was usually when at least one guy was out, either Kawhi or Paul George. and then he's really more of a focal point, especially in the fourth quarter. He's one of the best players in the NBA in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
But if they're not going to need him, then they'll just continue to run him out there for 24 minutes, and he'll have a solid game. But I don't want to spend $6,000 for him on DraftKings. Maybe 5.2 on FanDuel to get a unique build, but I'm not loving him in this one. He certainly could pay it off, but he's not my first target.
See, I really like him just because I think the game's a little closer. And like you said, he's the closer. He's going to come in there when they need him. Even if it's a 10 or 14-point game, he's going to get those big minutes late to try to, pull away from it. So he's definitely in my pool. Here's a guy that was real quiet in the last game too, but they didn't need him, was Marcus Morris Sr., by the way. I don't know if have you ever seen a senior? It's always junior or the third, right, not a senior. Right. Anyway, just one of those quirky things. I think he's possibly in play 5,400 on DraftKings, and I'll give you a few of the other guys. You can throw your opinion to me there. Your favorite player in the history of basketball, Michael Porter Jr. The dude, as much as he gets on my nerves, he does shoot the ball and produce when he's out there. It looks like he's pressing because he doesn't get enough minutes and he wants to get every shot up, but he's got to be considered. Jeremy Grant at 4,900 seems too cheap. And then, you've got my two centers there, Zubac at 48 and Harrell's still only 43. And I just, I don't know if I can get away from Harrell. What do you think of that group?
Yeah, Harrell's my favorite just because he's so good per minute, and he's basically, it doesn't matter what happens, blowout or not. If he gets his 20 to 22 minutes, then he's got a great opportunity to hit value at that price. So he's my favorite. With Porter and Grant, first of all, let me clarify for our new listeners what Coach is talking about, which is that basically I called the breakout on Porter in the bubble. Yes. And, Coach wasn't on him for the first game of that breakout because
I gave him a really hard time, because I don't like the dude's body language and attitude. And I could be wrong, but
well, that's the thing. I don't either. I don't like his body language or his attitude. And that was the thing, that breakout, I projected he was going to get the opportunity, the minutes. And because he's such a gunner, I decided I was going to play him, even though I didn't like the body language because he'd had an off night, but I was ready for the bounce back. And so the only reason I'm going back to this is just because, he's not my favorite player for the same reasons he's not yours.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you brought him up because of the other point you made, which is that if they force the ball out of Murray's hands, these other guys are going to have an opportunity. And I don't think Coach Malone's just going to sit there and say, all right, let's go. We'll just lose by 25 again here. We're going to get blown out. I mean, they're going to do whatever it takes to try to make it close. And a guy who can score, in bunches like that, I would give him a chance. And if he gets hot, I'd leave him out there. So he is a guy that could be low owned just because he hasn't been getting the minutes or the production like he was earlier in the bubble. So I think you could consider him. And Grant, the same thing. He had a nice first half. He was stroking it, and then he kind of was quiet in the second half. But it
was a blowout.
It was a blowout. And, he's a guy who's more likely to get steals and blocks than Millsap, and Millsap got him in the first game. So I think Grant is really worth considering as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree because I really like Grant here, and I agree with identical to what you just said on Porter. I think that they need him to knock some shots down.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize, do you know that he was first team all bubble? First team. So we're talking about all the players in the NBA that were in this. The LeBrons and ADs and everybody along the board. He was one of the 5 first-team guys in the bubble, first team. And do you know what he averaged in those 8 bubble games?
I'll say 26.
30.
Was it 30? Wow.
0. So that's outlandish, man.
Yeah.
I mean, look those up. Those are the numbers. And what that tells me is they were devoid of offense. They were pressuring Murray, and they really don't have a whole lot of guys that can step up and just tear it up like that offensively from the outside. And if you go out and play him, he'll take it to the hoop as well.
Yep.
So I think he's a fine play at that 5,100 number. So, that's my point today that I want to make in building this lineup. I'm very excited for tomorrow because I don't feel like I have to dumpster dive anywhere. I think I can go with Tatum, go with my medium build of really good players that are going to get all in excess of like 28 minutes and all perform well if both games stay tight enough that it doesn't screw things up from there. But that's the build I'm going to really go with. I'm not going to have to, for me, and I'm going to give you the guys that I'm going to recommend steering away from that everybody's going to go to tomorrow. Plumlee. Don't go back to Plumlee here. That was just, an aberration. He had not had a basket in 4 straight games. We played him because of the scenario. We game scripted it exactly, and we were very fortunate to hit it right on the nose. Robert Williams, again, not a bad play at that price, but his efficiency has to come down a little bit. And then you've got some other guys. Norman Powell's not getting big run right now. He's an awesome player. I like him. But if he's not going to get the run,
right,
and they're not going to go past Van Vliet and Lowry when they need to win this game. The other guys that I'm concerned about, just real quickly here, Marc Gasol. I love him. I just think the game is past him. I think Ibaka has been much more effective in there. And Gasol can get to value for it, but he's, why play these guys that have no ability to smash? Do you think Gasol can get 30 to 40 DFS points? I just don't even
not 40. 30 is possible, but not 40.
And I feel the same about Zubac. I just don't think he's going to get enough run and be quite effective enough. So that's just a pool of guys I want to throw out there. Daniel Tice at 5,500 on DraftKings is sort of now in that section, and I'm a guy that's played him. I just think with the with Robert Williams getting some of those minutes, and Tice has sort of played over his head a little bit in these last few games. I think he's going to get a lot more ownership than he really deserves. So I won't go any further than that, but I think that there's been a lot of times that people roster 2 of those guys I just mentioned because they want to go up to Kawhi and the Joker or Tatum. And my advice on that is just remember, look at the numbers today, and for a 60-point or 55-point Kawhi, the DFS points at 10-4, then you may have to play a 12-point Gary Harris or something. I mean, it just, you've got to look at the balance there of, is it worth going down that far to get up as high in a 2-game slate like this? To me, it's, and I don't use this when there's big slates, but money does equal minutes, because if you're going to get 30, 35 minutes out there, you've got to be considered. It's just opportunity as opposed to opportunity lost for guys that are going to play minimum minutes. So anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
Okay.
Anything else basketball wise?
Last thing is for the folks, I'm not sure, with our listeners, there's a variety. I don't know how many of you, how much you've listened, how much you've played. But, one thing about membership is we try to teach you different strategies and new approaches. And by the way, if you want to join, it's dfscoachtalk.com. And, if you jump in as a member, we'll be happy to answer your questions and talk strategy, either in the group setting or one-on-one with the DMs. But the reason I bring this up is because when you were talking about the game scripts, again, it's very important that you do that. It's not just about looking at stats and matchups and then picking your team, especially on a 2-game slate. You have to predict which game's going to stay close and then who's going to get how many minutes. And then that's how you can finally calculate and sort out, who you want to play. And so the reason I say that is because we do have a similar thought about how the first game's going to go. We're a little bit different on the second. and that really changes the build. And so the nice thing, again, if you're members here with us, is you're going to get the two different lineups. You're going to get the hybrid lineup from Coach, where he's obviously projecting a closer game in the second one. You're going to get the GPP from me, where I'm looking at it that it doesn't stay close. And so even some of those mid-tier guys I'm not as interested in. But again, the takeaway is just, if you take one thing away from today's podcast, I hope it's that you really try to project how the game's going to play out, and then look at minutes, and then make your final player selections.
And that's a great point, Andrew, because I think it's the biggest differentiator to what we offer at DFS Coach Talk. I mean, we hand build every single lineup. I'm not against optimizers. I believe in them. Statistical analysis is important, but I don't live and die by them. I mean, if I'm going to look at one, it's going to be part of my game's build. But, there's a lot of people that will just dump everything in there, and then that's who they're going to play at those percentages and be done with it. That's just not our philosophy here. We want to look at all those things because, stats don't lie. But, in this scenario that we're at in sports, specifically right now with the main sports, it's a different world. There is no statistical historic background to playing without fans, playing in a neutral site, these are all new types of situations that blow that out of the water. So when you're talking about sample size, there isn't any. So we're creating that now. So the way we've gotten to 80.25% winning percentage in the NBA is going through things just like this. How do we see the game unfolding? What's it looking like? What's the coach doing? What's the strategy? And, on down the line. Like, I'll tell you right now, just to give you one last piece on this, and, I'm talking and making this a lot longer tonight, so I apologize for that. But if you notice when the Lakers made a run in the game tonight, it was when they were running the blitz and the double at Harden and making him give up the ball. When they got blitzed at the beginning and at the end, it was when he was going one-on-one. He would take 15 dribbles and he would beat his man and get fouled or get a basket or and one every time. There's no human alive that can stop Harden one-on-one. So in going into this next game, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. I will by myself. So it'll be me. You'll hear me going on and on about this. But I think you'll see the Lakers strategy change. And I think some of that usage is going to shift from Harden to some of the other guys. So again, that's just us looking at all of, how it scripts, how it looked the game before, and how we believe those coaches will adjust and react. And you know what? That's sort of been our magic bullet to this point. And, that's what we're going to continue to roll with. And, we do it in all sports, but, DFS Coach Talk, we live and breathe basketball. I mean, that's what we were founded on. And we look at every single one of those plays, watch every minute of the game, even if it's a blowout, to look at tendencies, coaches' looks, the whole 9 yards. And, one big takeaway today that was shocking is how much they used Rondo, and they played him to close the game, and he hasn't played in 5 months. So that was pretty amazing. All right, I am done. I'm sorry that I'm just going off here today, but I'm so fired up. I'm fired up. We pulled out the victory. Excited for all of our new members joining. And it's good times at DFS Coach Talk, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
We want to thank our two sponsors, mybookie.ag and tvg.com. Don't miss the Kentucky Derby tomorrow. Catch that tvg.com, $300 risk-free bet. MyBookie for all your casino and also sports wagering action. Check them both out at dfscoachtalk.com. Use the Coach Talk, all one word, no space, as your promo code. Our charity of choice here is mambon3.org. That's MAMBAONTHREE.org. It is a terrific charity set up by the Bryant family. So that is it. Tomorrow, I will be here solo, and I'm going to give you my opinion on this. I won't be as long as I was today. I'm sure Andrew and Shane will chirp in and help me with a few picks if I'm on the bubble. And then we'll be posting all different stuff throughout the day on Twitter. And then we'll jump in Discord for tomorrow's action. and get everybody set to go. So any final words, my man?
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in, and let's crush it on Saturday.
Let's do it. We really do appreciate you spending this time with us, and we will be back. I will be back tomorrow as we look to crush it again in DFS.